It's like a weird race that started off weird, that's 7 miles, which is a weird distance.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so much fun though. And
Yeah.
you know that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I mean,
Hello, and welcome to Runnah, running on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and beyond. I'm Juliana, your host. Hello, back again. And this week we have a very special guest, our very first Olympian on the podcast, our very first professional runner on the podcast. We have Mr. Ben Flanagan.
thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, welcome, Ben. It's exciting to have you. I'm excited to have an Olympian. You got your Olympics tattoo.
Yep.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Anyone who's listened to the podcast before, you know I'm a big fan of a tattoo, so we love doing that. Well, we can probably ask you about your tattoo a little bit later.
Sounds good.
Because that's your only tattoo, right?
I got one more actually, like kind of the outside of my leg. If I'm wearing like shorts racing, you can see it. But it's a big like Michigan Block M Canadian maple leaf around it. I would show it on camera, but it might be
A
inappropriate.
little bit risque.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Maybe we'll get like a picture of it just isolated so I can like throw it up on the camera so people can see it.
There you go. That sounds good.
Yeah, we can do that. But I think where we'll start is your running history. So let's figure out when, where, why, how did Ben Flanagan start running? And you can give us the abbreviated version, you can give us the elongated version, whatever you feel like is coming to you in the moment.
Yeah, I'm a big talker myself, so this will last all day if I give you the long version of everything.
Yeah, join the club.
Yeah, so so I'm from Canada, a city called Kitchener outside Toronto. I grew up playing hockey, so that was kind of my main sport.
This sounds very generically Canadian.
Yeah, right. Stereotypes all over the place. Can't see on camera, but I never hit my growth spurt, so hockey was limited in its duration for me.
Yeah, you're not really like a huge bulky dude either,
No.
which tends to be an advantage in a very violently hands-on game.
Yes, exactly. So I never got the genetic lottery for the NHL, but so what ended up happening was like an annual track meet, maybe grade 6 or 7. My friends and I, we all wanted to run like the longest event, which was the 1500 at the time. So we did that as competition. It was something that like naturally came easier to me than any other sport I played. So that was cool. Got some very cool middle school attention from that. But it wasn't really until high school where I had 2 older sisters that joined the cross country team. They loved the coach, loved the team, loved everything about it. And going into high school when you want to make friends, they were encouraging me like, you got to come out for cross country. So I was like, all right, sounds good. And it was just a perfect fit. Made a ton of friends there as well.
Nice.
Lucked into an amazing coach named Christina Sullivan. She was a multiple-time All-American at Villanova herself.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome. So really lucky situation. And just kind of found myself in a situation where I was naturally good at it, had great mentorship, and then just started setting goals. So started with trying to win, provincial championship, trying to make Team Canada, and then the last big one was trying to get a scholarship to an NCAA school, and that's what led me to the University of Michigan.
Yeah. So when you were starting out running, did you have like any big goals? Because I know we just had recently James Benson on the podcast, who is an 11-year-old who ran a half marathon.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I was like, whoa.
I never did any of those at 11. Yeah, that's impressive.
But did you have like a goal when you started out running where you're like, were you and your friends like competitive in a way where you're like, yeah, we're all gonna do this, blah, 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 blah. Was there like fighting between you who was the best? Like what was the vibe?
Yeah, totally. The big one was to make Team Canada. I was like, I thought that the coolest thing ever, especially when you're in high school, like you see, other athletes that you look up to wear, the national team uniform.
Yeah.
And you see all the gear they get, and it's like, wow, that would be the coolest thing to get that sweet bag, the singlet, all that stuff.
Sleep on a cardboard bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Really cool.
Yeah, that's the stuff you learn as you get older. But and I don't want to make the Olympics, really.
Yeah.
As I remember before I even started running, I thought like my goal was to make, the Olympics in hockey and baseball. I wanted to be, Summer Olympic and Winter Olympic, which
multi-sport athlete, just really killing it out there.
Exactly, and I don't think they have baseball in the Olympics anyways now.
I think they did for a couple of seasons, like not seasons, like games. I think China had it, maybe?
Yeah, it was a while ago. Because I know they had
Yeah.
softball. I don't know the last time baseball was in there. But either way. So
How
my
minute
goal was
ago.
to be an Olympian. I didn't think it'd be that hard when you're 15, 14 years old, right?
Anyone can be an Olympian. It's just
Exactly.
like it just comes to you, you know?
Totally. But when I got to the university, that was kind of the first time I experienced like a good,
Kick in the butt.
yeah, an ass kicking of just how good, competition really gets.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a slice of humble pie, I guess.
Yeah. Now, is University of Michigan correct?
Yep.
Is that a school that's very well known for track? Just because my background is not in track.
Right.
I started distance running as an adult, so that was past me like applying for graduate schools. Is University of Michigan like a really high end like track?
Yeah. For sure. They've got a very rich history of being a successful middle distance program mostly.
Okay.
A lot of really successful Canadians have come out of that program, most
Okay.
notably Kevin Sullivan,
Okay.
who, strangely enough, actually ended up being my coach there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but he's a three-time Olympian, 331, 1,500-meter runner. And then they have also had Olympic medalists from other countries, Nick Willis from New Zealand. And then there was one athlete that was close to my hometown named Nate Brennan.
Okay.
From Cambridge, Ontario, that was probably like the closest like inspiration to me, where it was like, oh wow, this guy is from pretty close to where I live.
Yeah.
Went here, ended up going to the Olympics. That was kind of a trajectory I wanted to follow when I ended up going there myself.
Yeah. So he was someone you like really looked up to.
Totally, yeah.
Was there anyone else that you really like idolized while you were either in college or younger, or even maybe now, that you're just like, this is who I wanted to be or want to be like?
Yeah, all the time. In high school, for sure. I looked up to. I was so infatuated with the NCAA.
I can tell that you're a track person who also like is very involved with that, because you gave me someone's time.
Yeah,
on a race. You're like, yeah, this is a 341 guy. And I'm just like, yes, this is a person who is very involved with the track side, the timing, like very knows people's times, knows people's PRs.
Totally. I'm a big nerd of the sport, to be honest.
That's kind of what you have to be, though, to be this involved.
Yeah, it makes it exciting. It's fun to nerd out over that type of stuff. So there's amazing programs in Canada as well, and honestly, a lot of the best Canadians come from Canadian schools as well.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, when I was young, I just loved the NCAA.
Yeah.
Those two athletes, Cam Levins and Mohammed, who are both doing amazing still. They're the best athletes we have on the distance side of things. But they were the top two Canadians in the NCAA system, and those are the guys that like really motivated me to be like, okay, I want to go to this system in order to get better and try to be one of the best in the world, really.
Yeah, people you like really looked up to and were like, this is goals
Yes,
right here.
100%.
I must achieve this.
Yeah.
I will be going to the Olympics. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was the goal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and spoiler alert, you went to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And this is the first time you've gone this year, correct?
Yes, first one.
Okay. Hopefully not the last.
Hope
Hopefully
so.
we're going to LA as well, too, in about 4 years,
That's
a little
the goal.
under. And like, what was that experience like? Not only just like, one, living your whole life to this point of like, this is my goal. I will be going to the Olympics. Thank you so much. Get out of my way. I am inspired. I will be going there. To like training for that, and then also, I was going to say auditioning, but you're kind of auditioning. But
yeah, close enough.
kind of an audition, but going through the trials and then landing there. What was that process like, just going through the trials and like getting to the point where you're like, I am physically at the Olympics and I am an Olympian?
Yeah, the short answer is very overwhelming. Yeah, it was a lot. I guess some important context is the Tokyo Olympics was the first, pursuit that I really had a shot at making the team.
Yeah.
And that kind of changed pretty quick, because I was in a place where I wasn't really good enough for it to be a consideration, to kind of had a breakthrough where I was like, oh, wow, I actually think I
Yeah.
might make this team.
Yeah.
And up until about a week, maybe even less, before the team was officially selected.
For Tokyo?
Yeah, for Tokyo.
Okay.
One other Canadian just jumped over my spot, and then I ended up being the first guy out and missing the team.
Because that is the Canadian way of getting to the Olympics just as messy as the American way? Or did you go through the same point system, or?
Yeah, it's similar. The main thing that the U.S. what makes it a bit clearer is the trials serve as a much more definitive selection event. Just because in Canada, most of the time, you don't have more than 3 people in position to qualify.
Gotcha.
So although it's important to run the trials, people take a lot of pride in going there. By the time you get there, there's a pretty small pool of athletes that can even qualify. Gotcha. That it's not quite the same experience as Olympic marathon trials where you have 5 guys that can make the team, and it comes down to top 3 on the day.
Yeah.
But going through that Tokyo experience, like that's what was pretty crazy because you feel like you just don't really know if you're going to get that opportunity again, right?
Yeah.
So
you never know.
Yeah, it was there, like this all-time dream. You feel like you had it, and then it's just like gone.
Yeah.
And you have 3 years of uncertainty before it comes again. So that's what really motivated me for this round is I was like, all right, like I've been through the disappointment. Like I know what it takes to make the team. I know what mistakes I made last time. Like I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm just going to make sure I make this happen. And the breakthrough performance that happened is when I ran 13:04 in Boston in late January. So that's when I hit the Olympic standard, put me in really good position for selection.
Yeah.
But the thing that most people don't understand, besides the nerds of the sport, is the team doesn't get selected until July, and the Olympics is in August.
That is the last minuteness of Olympic selection to me gives me so much anxiety. I'm not ever going to go through this process. I know where my talents lie. It is not there. I'm going to keep running casually, but like. It's just, oh my God, like I had enough anxiety when I ran the Tokyo Marathon last year and I had a 5-month lead up to that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, just like, I can't even imagine.
Totally. Yeah, it's scary. And you're totally right. And it makes sense. Like the whole idea is that you select the team as close to the event as possible to ensure, preparation, right? People are going to make it there. They're going to be good from that point on. But, locking that Olympic standard down in January put me in like, I don't know, made up statistic, but let's say a 95% chance I make that team.
Yeah, pretty
right?
high.
So I felt amazing about it. But going through the previous experience, like anything can happen, right? Like,
you don't trust it.
No, the day before the trials, like 3 guys can run the standard and all of a sudden I'm in, 4th or 5th.
And you're not going anymore. Or
exactly.
You're the alternate. And
so it was kind of this weird like celebration of, wow, I feel really good about this, but like it's not settled until it's settled.
Yeah. So you pretty much have like 6 months of uncertainty of just being like twiddling your thumbs, being like, well, I hope no one else hits that time.
Yes, it honestly brings out a pretty nasty part of you too, right? Because you have all these other amazing Canadian athletes.
I'm sure you're like sitting there watching their times and be like, I hope it's fucking.
You're hoping like, hey, I want you to do as good as you can. Just don't run faster than 13:04 and we'll be fine, right?
Yeah. To their face, you're like, oh, I hope you do really well. Behind, like, fuck you.
Yeah. So it was, it's a pretty big emotional roller coaster.
I imagine.
Fortunately, it all worked out. I ended up making the team. But I do think that like that waiting period, it does make you pretty susceptible to, errors and mistakes. And I've learned that on the other side of just, getting a little too excited, a little too greedy, trying to, skip recovery days. It's just, that's where I think I made mistakes in my preparation is getting so anxious about whether or not I make that team that like, it was like all gas. Even after I did everything I needed to do to qualify, I was just in kind of this like high stress state all the way until getting to Paris. And then, spoiler alert, when you're in Paris, it doesn't get less stressful.
It goes from here to here.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You think you're operating at here already, but you're really only operating at here, and then you get to Paris and you go,
Yes. So, entirely dream come true, amazing experience. The coolest thing in the world was, walking into a stadium at 11 in the morning for a 5K prelim. Like, in the big scheme of things of the Olympics, a pretty low stakes event.
Yeah.
It's not even the final yet, and it's just like, over 50,000 people in a track stadium. Screaming. It was like, this is pretty freaking cool.
That is drugs right there.
Yeah, it was astonishing.
I don't even know how I would be able to fun because when I ran the New York City Marathon, I think there were they estimated 200,000 spectators, which is a lot of spectators, but it's spread out over 26.2 miles, And that was I was on a high the whole, like, I remember parts of that race, but I was just like me, like, and people cheering for me, like, I'm just like all the way up here in the clouds when I have that many people cheering for me. I can't even imagine what it feels like to like walk into a stadium like that and just be like, and just feel that energy just like.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I'm sure both of us have experienced this. Like, I've had races where you can have a breakthrough performance, and you know, it's your mom, dad, and sister in the stands, and no one else.
Yeah,
right?
it can be just you and like one other person.
Or trees, you know. It's like, it's not like it's a sport where you're used to that level of fan engagement.
Yeah.
So it was really cool, and it really definitely elevates, you know, like your, I guess, excitement, and you know, I was hoping for my performance to be better.
Yeah.
A lot of people do, you know. Everybody wants that like Olympic moment. But I will say it gives you a lot of respect for those that go there and, you know, ball out lifetime best performances. Like, it's a very difficult environment to manage the nerves well enough to bring the best out of yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
It is. So amazing experience though. And before you know it, it's just like, it's done.
Over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you worked so hard for so long, and then it's like, how long would you say you were actually like competing? Like 2 days, maybe?
Yeah.
You went through
14 minutes.
Yeah. Because you went through the first round, correct? And then you got to the second round?
No, I got knocked out in the first round. So that was it. 14 minutes, and then it's done.
You could have said, Juliana, I went to the second round.
Yeah.
You could have said I went to the finals, and I would have been like,
went to the finals, won a medal.
Yeah,
I didn't bring it today.
Yeah.
No, none of that happened. It was I got knocked out in the first round. My goal was to make the final. I didn't, you know, I would love to say I felt like a medal was in the cards. Where I was at, you know, for how hard it was for me to get there and qualify. Making a final and getting one more race, that would have been a really big deal for me. You know, and sometimes you set goals and they don't happen. But I learned a ton from being there. And I mean, unfortunately, it comes every 4 years. So I'm going to have to wait a little bit to use that knowledge. But I'm hoping to get one more chance in LA is the goal.
What would you say you learned? Like, what were these things that you learned while you were at the Olympics that you're going to take with you?
It's kind of like,
if it's something that's like more of like, I have to put my foot in front of like I
no, it's not anything technical. It's like any major experience, Tokyo Marathon, for example, NCAA championship,
not
Olympics.
the same level of pressure on me, but
no,
you know,
it's just like, it's one of those things that you just don't know until, like, you don't even know what you don't know. Like, you get there, you don't know what the village is like, you don't know what the cafeteria is like, and all these things you kind of picture your routine going, like, it's all different than what you expect. So to just get like a walkthrough of what the routine's like, to realize how much kind of constant state of stress you're in, that was the biggest thing. It's like, you know, I was watching Olympic events, and if I would do it again, I probably would have tried to turn off my phone. Like, I mean, I don't even know if I would stay in the village again.
I don't think I would if I was there.
Amazing experience, but it's a certain personality type. Like, I'm already a pretty like anxious person, and to be around so many athletes, like,
varying levels of anxiety, varying levels of ability of communication, I'm sure too, varying levels of like what they need, what they're going through. Because I feel like, generally speaking, most runners, we're a generally anxious crew of human beings who need to physically exercise some of that anxiety out of our bodies. And like use that exercise and running to process some of our anxiety and feelings. So I can imagine being in a very confined spot where the anxiety level is already very high, and then being around people who are tending to be anxious, aka the runners. The anxiety, like the collective anxiety, must be overwhelming at a baseline.
It's a lot. And then you got other sports too, and keep in mind, everyone, like, it's the most important experience for me. That's everyone.
It's everyone's most important experience.
Like, everyone's the main character there.
You're meeting a lot of main characters. A lot of main characters.
Exactly. So, and then the last part that was a bit difficult is, like, you know, my family came, which was amazing. And to see them, that wasn't the difficult part. Sorry, the lineup of that wasn't quite correct. But
we're on the transitioning bridge. We're getting to the point.
The difficult part was, like, to go meet, they can't go into the village. So it's like to get dinner with my parents 2 days from the race. It's like, you have to walk half mile out of the village to get through the screening. Once you get out of the village, it's about a half mile to the subway. Take a subway to wherever you're going, another half mile to dinner. And then do that all back while you're thinking about, like, you know, every energy, like every calorie you're expending.
And like, do I need to like refuel right now? Should I be having more hydration right now? Like, oh my gosh, I feel like a little niggle in my calf. Like, what is that? And it's just like, calm down.
Overthinking everything. So So
Yeah.
that's the one thing. And then the second thing is, like, I needed to come down, period. So when I ran that 13:04 to hit
Yeah.
the Olympic standard,
Yeah.
that was the perfect time to be like, hey, I just accomplished pretty much a lifetime
Yeah.
accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether or not I get selected, I accomplished the goal. I hit the Olympic standard.
I would say so.
That was a point where it would have been really smart to
Take a breath.
take a breath, take a break.
Dehiss a little bit.
Yeah. Understand it's like from this point until the Olympics, it's going to be go time again.
Mm-hmm.
So, because keep in mind, the 3 months prior, I was training for that 13:04. That would have been a nice time to just like come down a little bit and then go again. Because I just felt like by the time I got to Paris, it's like it was that progression was starting to plateau.
Yeah.
The fatigue was starting to show.
Yeah,
and
that like fight or flight response that you get from like that higher anxiety, I can imagine would like just grate on your body if it's like you just never like let it kind of like.
Yes, and when you go to Olympic, like they're not changing the schedule. It's like you want to be the best version of yourself there when you feel like.
But you have to go by whatever they decide the time of the race is and the conditions of the like if it. And you have no, as with any race that you show up to, and you know this very well from running in Canada and also running the Falmouth Road race, which everyone notoriously every year is like, it's going to be hot. I'm like, yeah, no, fuck. It's in the middle of August. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Why did you sign up for this race if you didn't think it was going to be hot?
Yeah, totally. So I would have liked to time the progression better so that like I was entering the games with the most confidence.
Yeah.
I felt like quote unquote peak too early. It's like and so that's another learning experience. But
yeah, for sure.
You live and learn.
Yeah.
Now on the other side of it, starting a new chapter and can say that I'm Olympian, which is pretty cool. Lifetime accomplishment still, and the craziest thing is you still want more. And that's just sport for you.
That's the problem with like not only being an athlete but being a runner specifically too. Is like you cross the finish line for something and you're like, I could do it better.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you get the people. I always say that they're, especially when it comes to marathoning, because that's more of a distinctive like I like it or I don't like it distance. The 5K you can skirt through a 5K at a non-Olympic pace and be like good. But like a marathon, you got to actually try to get to the finish line. Right. And people get there and they either say never again or they say I could do it better.
Yeah.
And the people who are probably watching this, the people who say I could do it better.
Yeah.
And that I feel like that's the same for anything that's like challenging when it comes to like pushing yourself in sport.
Totally. Yeah, it's a never-ending chase. So that's what we're doing now. So it's not like I know LA got some time before it, but I'm trying to do all the things to get ready so that when that qualifying period opens, I feel good about trying to get a spot on that team.
Well, the thing is too, LA is like obviously your big like long-term goal in this current moment. But there's so many other events and races that you participate in. Not only the Falmouth Road race, which obviously I'm assuming you're probably going to do this year because you live in town now. So the travel is kind of nice. Like it's right down the street, and I'm sure like you guys who are in the VIP section get VIP treatment and stuff like that. Us plebes just kind of show up on the bus. So or I usually end up running to the starting line because I usually do it as like a 20-mile long run day.
Oh, that's a big day.
Yeah, it's my best long run of my whole training season because I get cheered for the last 7 miles.
That's
and
great.
Built-in hydration and fueling.
That'll do it.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend if anyone else wants to join me this year, you can. Nice. My pace is going to be a lot slower than yours, Ben, so you can go by yourself. But like, what other things between now and LA are you kind of like excited for?
Yeah. So when we talked about this whole Olympic experience, I was in the 5K. Now LA, I'm hoping to be in the marathon. So
which is quite a jump.
Huge. Yeah.
Have you run any marathons before?
Nope, never done one. So yeah, it's not an uncommon transition from the track to the road, but a lot of people, underestimate what it's like. So I'm trying not to be one of those people. But yeah, right now it's all about trying to kind of respect the distance, get used to a new training volume, training methods. I've done a few halves in the last few months. My next race is going to be the New York City half in March.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so that one that's kind of the big one I'm trying to do, really well at.
Yeah.
And then I'm really excited to run some majors and, just try to, learn how to run the marathon correctly and get better at it. So hopefully the first one will be in the fall. And then I'd love to run Boston.
You come run Cape Cod and blast the wheels off. We have a pretty competitive course PR.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like 2:10 or something. Or
Wow. Yeah, that's really good.
There's the guy who won the half marathon 2 years ago finished in like 1:03.
Wow. Yeah, that's good too.
So like people they think that it's just a smaller race. I'm like, oh no. The BAA people come down here and they blast the wheels off of the course records. So like, don't underestimate it.
Yeah.
Like you can run whatever pace you want. I'm still gonna be there at the finish line cheering for you. But like that guy caught me by surprise because I was on the mic and it was like 1 hour. We're at like exactly an hour. I was like, yeah, the first place person's probably gonna come through in like 15 minutes. They're like, Julian, he's like right around the corner.
Wow.
I'm like, are you what? Are you shitting me? Like,
Yeah, that's super impressive.
He came blasting around the corner. I was like, yeah, I guess we're doing like a 1 hour half today. Like, I guess this is just the vibe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would love to run, more of the Cape Cod events.
Yeah, there's no rush. If you decide you want to win some prize money one year, go for it.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. So we'll see. I mean, I got my eye on a couple races in the fall. Boston, like a while ago when I was thinking about marathons, I thought a debut at Boston would be really cool. But my wife and I are expecting our first baby at the end of March.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so the timing is just not going to line up very well for a high-performance marathon in mid-April.
Yeah, I mean, this is just my hot take, and granted, I'm not a professional runner, so take this with a grain of salt. I wouldn't do Boston as my first marathon debut because there's like at least 50% chance that you're probably not going to get your best performance on Boston because it's just like it's not a nice course, it's not a forgiving course, and it's just I'm sure they're a lot nicer to you as like an elite athlete, but it's just like it's very Massachusetts. It's very much like, so you will work for every single step you take. Like that is the vibe, like 100% all the way through. So just like keep that. I would maybe go Chicago.
Yeah.
That's just my recommendation, but you can put that in the trash.
No, I mean,
I won't be offended.
Yeah, Chicago, I would love to run at least once. My only concern with doing Chicago for a first one as a track athlete is like the track athlete. This is just from my own anecdotal experience watching guys.
Yeah, no, I would love to. You have a very different experience running than I do.
Sure. What you'll see is track guys sometimes make the mistake of like a marathon early feeling so good that you go too fast and then mile 20 hits and it's just self-destruction mode. And as much as I would love to run Chicago after having at least one or two. Then. Yeah, New York's on my mind. So
yeah, that first bridge will like keep you in check pace-wise.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
That the goal is like, I just want to respect the distance. Like the main goal, the first one. I mean, my like big goal would be under 2:10 would be awesome.
Yeah. I think you can do it.
But the main goal is like having a good experience. The last thing I want is for it to be like I don't want to go out in 2:07 pace and then blow up.
Yeah, then have to walk off the course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to like really. Ideally hit mile 20 being like, oh, thank God I didn't go faster earlier. Yeah. Like I actually feel relatively in control. But
yeah, I feel like you still got wheels on the bike.
Totally. Because it's like, it's like 5K pace, half marathon pace. You get used to running 4:12 per mile, 4:20 per mile. It's like 4:50s could feel pretty good for 10 miles, right?
That's the biggest joke I've ever heard in my life. Man, don't even come at me with like 4:15. I was running like 7:30 this morning, and I was like, "Wow, Juliana, you're like blasting off your wheels."
I do plenty of those too. Don't worry. That's just.
I think my fastest mile is like almost 6 minutes flat, but that's like me almost vomiting.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same. So it's just an easy. I think it's easy to get caught up in the excitement in Chicago. Yeah. I think it's a risky play.
I can agree with that. I would say, honestly, Boston's even more dangerous because that first like 5 to 7 miles is like it's a pretty significant downhill too. Yeah. And like, even as someone who, again, I'm not running a 4:15, not running a 4:20 pace, but like, it can get uncontrollable really fast because you're also like around other people who also feel that energy. Yeah. And I mean, given what you're telling me, out of the 3 majors that are in the United States, I would recommend New York.
Yeah. So the one I got my eyes on is New York, Toronto.
Okay.
Which for obvious reasons.
Yeah, hometown race.
Yeah, and it could be a good fit from like a performance side of things as well. Yeah. And then CIM.
Oh yeah, I'd like to run CIM. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, CIM seems like to be honest, CIM seems like the most like rational choice. Yeah. It's set up really well. Mm-hmm. It's probably gonna be one in around kind of the goal that I want to. Yeah. And it's like you can just focus on racing. Yeah. Not get caught up in any like times and just know that you're not going to go out too fast. Hopefully.
It's also in the like mid-tier of racing where it's not a Cape Cod Marathon where it's like local race, but it's not a Boston Marathon where there's like an overwhelming, not only like human runner presence, but media presence along with that, which I'm sure you'll get roped into in some capacity because that'll probably be part of your brand deal of like, yeah, Ben's going to show up here, do this thing, whatever. Or there's something that you're going to have to do around race day.
Right.
Or I imagine CIM, if you have to do anything, it'll be a little bit less because there's just not as much pomp and circumstance around the race specifically. Kind of like I'm imagining if you show up to the Falmouth Road Race, they're like, oh, 2-time winner, Ben Flanagan, and you're like, this is the 7th interview I've done today, friends. Please leave me alone. Love you all, but like my voice is tired.
That's funny. Yeah. CIM. It's an interesting call because it's like, especially for a lot of stuff we talked about earlier with Paris and the anxiety and stuff like that. It's like running your first marathon is already a nerve-wracking experience. So if there's a way to set yourself up to just like bring it down or not elevate it by going for a major, or doing it in your close to hometown. It could be for people like the personality type I described. It could be a way to kind of
This is exactly why I ran the Cape Cod Marathon as my first marathon. I could walk to the starting line and I could walk home and I slept in my own bed. And it was like anything I always recommend to, because people come to me, they're like, yeah, Boston's my first marathon. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't do that. Like, as someone who's run it twice, like, absolutely not. I'm so glad that was not my first marathon.
Yeah.
Just as, like an everyday runner. But, like, it's just, there's so much anxiety and stress around it. Not only from, like, having to navigate getting places and doing things and, like, getting to the starting line, figuring out what corral am I in, all these things. But just, like, the extra amount of nervous energy that's around you is wild.
Yeah.
Like, and it, like, I think kind of how you referenced the stadium in the Paris Olympics, you can never anticipate what that is going to feel like on race day when you show up and like everyone around you has the same level of anxiety. And you're all just like standing there like shoulder to shoulder and like almost vibrating and being like, and everyone's like kind of ready to go. No, I don't want that energy around me. I'm good.
Yeah, and I mean the hype is awesome. Like I guess the distinction I make is like I love the hype and it's awesome.
The hype is great.
Just when you're ready for it, and it's like for the first one, I think it'd be nice to like, okay, let's just take care of that, and then it's like when there's a bit more like baseline confidence, now let's like get that energy and like lean into it. Because the other side of all of that is like, it's an electric environment and it's fun and. Especially when it's like you're feeling good about going into it and everything like that. So, I can't wait to run Boston. It's kind of one of those races that I hope to kind of put on the schedule annually. And then the fall, Chicago to me is the one where it's like, okay, I've got 2 on my belt and like now it's time to absolutely rip one. Is like kind of when I want to go to Chicago.
Yeah, I think Chicago's a good one to just like rip straight out because it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
Like it's like decently flat and it's got like, there's like 1 or 2 out backs, but it's mostly just a big loop. And the nice thing is starting into the same spot. So
totally.
Logistics wise, Chicago's definitely the easiest.
We'll see. Talk is cheap, so let's see if I'm actually good at the marathon first, and we'll go from there.
Who knows? Maybe my marathon PR will be better than Ben.
Maybe.
Probably.
Right now, I got nothing to show for it. No marathon under my belt yet. So.
What's your longest long run you've done? You must have done 20-mile long runs.
Yeah, I've done 20.
Okay.
And I'm kind of
an idea.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the routine of doing like an 18 to 20 weekly.
Okay.
But nothing that's like quite comparable to like goal race pace. Like I'll go like 20 miles at like 6-minute pace.
Yeah.
But
pedestrian.
Trust me, that doesn't feel good. But it's like I haven't done any workouts that are like, all right, let's try to do 10 miles at 4:55, 5-minute pace.
Yeah.
That's kind of the next phase of because right now my training I would say is much more like half marathon based. Like got a little bit of 5K, 10K stuff. Putting in the 20-mile long runs to kind of get the body used to it. Yeah. But I haven't really like clashed those into like, okay, full-on marathon training yet.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. You have fun with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing that.
It's always a grind. That's the name of the game, I guess.
I mean, I like pushing myself too, but I'm just like, I've just started doing like kind of tempo runs in the middle of long runs, and I'm like, oh God, terrifying.
Yeah, that I can get the heart rate up for sure.
Yeah, I'll be interested to. We'll have to have you back on after you run your first marathon because I always like to say, it like you can get to the 20-mile mark, and I pity the people who only run 20 miles as like their training. I still don't understand that. This is just me, but like I don't understand.
I'm taking all the advice I can get on any marathon.
Well,
feedback.
I always just say that the last 10K hits spicy.
Yeah.
And it could be a good spicy, it could be a bad spicy, it can be in a different spicy, but it just you enter a different time zone. You enter a different like plane of existence, and that can be great. You can enter that 20-mile mark and you're like, holy shit, like I can really like race this last 10K. Like I got this. Or you enter that 20-mile mark, which I've done many times, and you're like, oh no.
Oh God.
There are still 6.2 miles left of this. Oh God.
Yeah.
Someone save me.
So what's the longest you'll go leading into a marathon? Will you go over 20?
Right now it's like 24, 25.
Oh yeah.
It's usually what I like to hit. If I can hit 25, that's good for me.
And you notice in training that same experience, getting over 20?
I mean, right now I'm training for an ultra. So
Okay,
I'm going to run a 30-miler.
Nowhere, that's never, I don't know if that's ever coming my way.
I think you could do it.
Yeah, well, I'm years away from a conversation like that. 26.2, I don't think I want to go a step further.
I mean, as the person who didn't grow up doing any track and field or anything, and I took up running after high school, like if I can do it, anyone can do it, you know? It doesn't mean like I'm going to run it fast, but like, I don't know. We'll see. But I think you could do it, Ben.
Oh, I appreciate it. We'll see. Maybe one day.
I think you got it. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think of the marathon distance after you like complete one, obviously.
Totally. I'll come back on. We can chat about it. And hopefully it's a very positive conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not moping in here with my tail between my legs.
Who knows? Maybe you win the New York City Marathon. You never know.
That'd be nice.
Or CIM. I feel like you have a higher chance of winning CIM just because the pool is a little bit less steep.
Oh yeah. If you want to win New York, that's some Helen O'Beary status right there.
That's Helen O'Beary territory right there. How many years has she won that? At least 2.
I think she has 2 Bostons. She has a New York. She might have. She might have 2. Because I know Sharon Lacady won one of the years where she was duking out with her. But Helen is awesome. I got the chance to meet her a few times just being with On.
Yeah.
And she's like super super friendly and trains like a maniac.
I'm sure she does.
Yeah, some of the stuff I've heard she can do in training is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sure. What is she doing? Like 20, probably 150 miles a week or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually her mileage isn't crazy from what I remember hearing, but I've just heard of some workouts where she'll do she'll finish with a 2-mile rep in like sub 10 minutes or something like that.
Gosh.
Like doing some after already getting 4 or 5 reps in. So she's just got like crazy leg speed for a marathon. You know, I mean, she was one of the best track athletes in the world before she went to the marathon, but it doesn't seem like that's gone away.
Yeah, I mean, she's awesome. Like, I love watching the women's side of the marathon and, like, any of the race and stuff like that, so.
Oh, yeah. And
I think she's fantastic.
Elevated. It's just friggin' skyrocketing right now how fast women are getting.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, like, I'd love to see it where there's the men's and the women's standards are the same at some point. But I think we can get to that point. I mean, women have only been in the sport, like, about 50-ish years, give or take, like, in a competitive nature. Mm-hmm. So I think we got time. I mean, men have like hundreds of years on us, so we'll make up for it.
Yeah, it is. That's an interesting point because you do see like across the board in all distances, the women's times are dropping at a much faster rate than especially in the marathon and the half. It's like you're seeing some of the top elite women pass some of the pro men.
Yeah,
a lot of the pro men, and so it'll be interesting to see over time.
Yeah, I have positive feelings about this. I think it's going to be good. But I also wanted to ask you about working with On. So how did that even start? Like, where did On find you in your running journey? Because that's a Swedish brand. Not
Swiss.
Swiss.
Yeah.
Sorry. A Swiss brand. Yeah. Swiss, Swedish. Anywhere up in that like northern hemisphere.
SW. Yeah. You got it.
Anywhere in that like northern hemisphere of Europe, like kind of just like bunched together. Finland, Denmark, they're all kind of just like. But it's not a Canadian company, is what I was trying to get at.
Right.
And like we were talking about a little bit earlier, it's not really got a big presence in the like North American countries, aside from its like very popular shoes, some of which you're wearing. But how did you get into working with On? Like, what was the progression there?
Yeah, so basically, I graduated in 2018.
Okay.
It's pretty common if you like seriously want to consider running professional, and I mean the opportunities are out there. I will say it can be a bit cutthroat and a bit of a steep drop off.
I would imagine.
Yeah, so it's like there's a certain accolades you want to rack up to impress brands and have kind of what they're looking for. Mine that I was lucky enough to achieve was winning NCAAs my last year of college.
Nice.
If I didn't do that, different like situation, because the rest of my college career wasn't as successful as that. So that's kind of what got my name, on the map to impress brands. Okay. So I signed with an agent who helps negotiate those contract opportunities. Yeah. So my first contract was 3 years with Reebok, brought me to Virginia.
Okay.
That took me to the end of 2021, and I felt like I was ready for a change. Decided to start looking for other opportunities, and On was investing a lot in the sport at that time. They just created a group based in Boulder, OAC, and we're sponsoring runners, sponsoring races. I really liked kind of everything they were doing. So we reached out, and I actually wasn't super hopeful because one of the stipulations is I was looking for an independent contract instead of a group-based contract, and I didn't think that was something they were offering. Yeah. Luckily, they were like, hey, you know what? We actually are looking for a Canadian on the roads right now.
You're like, hey.
I was like, wow, match made in heaven. So it's perfect. So in 2022, when I signed with them, we signed it would have been a 22, 23, 24, so a 3-year deal. Okay. That would have taken us through Paris. Okay. And the plan was to actually go to the marathon then.
Oh, okay. But, interesting.
Yeah, I moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan, got linked up with my coach there, Ron Warhurst, who I worked with for a period of time for the last 3 years. And then he kind of saw, he thought I still had some track legs in me, and he kind of encouraged me to stick with the shorter stuff. Yeah. And we saw some really, big breakthroughs that showed that maybe there's a chance at making the team for Paris. And they're like, hey, if you're going to make the Olympics, we don't care what you do.
Just go wear our gear and go to the Olympics. Yeah. Please, thank you.
And then what was cool was when I signed in 2022, a lot of people didn't know of the brand. And since then, it's just grown like crazy. In, the general fashion space, but in particular the running space, it's grown a lot, especially when they released the Monsters, and now
it's a pretty popular running shoe
for sure. And then the racing shoes.
I'd say the Cloud, it's the Runner. Yeah, the Cloud Runner.
Runner's good, and the Surfer is popular as well.
Yeah, I've run in the Surfer. I haven't run in the Runner. I have the Cloud Flow as well.
Nice. Too. Yeah, I run in the Flow and the Runners a lot. And the Monster's great. The Monster Hyper is actually amazing for long runs.
See, that's one I wanted to try out because I'm not a big fan of the pods. This is where we're going to get into shoe nerd category, friends. The pods for me just don't do it. And I think that's kind of the general vibe from the shoe running people's world, at least of the casual runners on my side of things, is that the less pods there are, the better the shoe is at actual running.
Interesting.
It looks cool to have the pods. Right. Don't get me wrong. It's a cool fashion statement, and we love that. Yeah. But I find that the shoes that have less pod and more just reactive foam tend to be more universally accepted among everyday runners. And for me personally, I tend to just I'm not a big fan of the pods as much as I am with On shoes that don't have the pods.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Because the pods is obviously a huge staple of the brand.
Yeah, because what happened? The guy stapled parts of a hose to the bottom of a shoe or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think they're always trying to make sure they incorporate that. But what's been really cool about working with them is, they take the athlete feedback.
That's great.
A ton, and they're always innovating products. So the first shoes that I ran in when I signed in 2022 versus now, it's world of difference. So they're always getting better. The first shoe I ran in would have been the Cloud Stratus, the first version.
Wait, no, I know which one the Cloud Stratus is. Sorry.
Yeah, and then their first version of the Cloud Boom Echo, and they were solid. But nowadays, every year they're just getting better and better and better. So I've had a great experience with them. They keep me healthy, fast. So they've been great. So halfway through 2024, after it looked like I was on track to make the team, we actually negotiated an extension. So I'll be with them through 2028.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll be with them my whole career.
Yeah. They sound like a good partner. They let you kind of do your independent career thing, which is what you were looking for. The shoes seem to be working out well for you. Yeah. I can speak from personal experience too. The clothing, really nice stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
High-end clothing for sure. Doesn't really seem to be too many negatives, if any, here.
Yeah. So I'm I'll have to get out to Zurich sometime and check out the headquarters. But no, they've been great. I've been super impressed with the athlete management team and great brand to work with. So
that's great.
Yeah, I've had a great experience. And yeah, the independent piece is pretty awesome. A lot of trust in their athletes to find a situation that works.
I think that's fantastic that they let you do that too.
For sure, works for me, my family, dogs, baby coming. So
yeah, you gotta move around, you gotta do things, you gotta make things work.
Exactly, and that's a big part of why I'm able to train here.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Now, do you have a favorite race day and also training shoe? Like, what's the lineup? What is the Ben Flanagan shoe lineup look like right now? Because as the shoe nerd here, I have to know what your shoe lineup looks like.
For sure. So easy miles, I do, so like easy, like longer miles, like my main primary run will be the Cloud Runner, Cloud Runner 2s. So just the most the most latest version of the Cloud Runner.
Whatever that.
Because they might be releasing the 3s relatively soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the 3's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, and then for any doubles, like, anywhere from 4 to 6 miles, I'll actually run the Cloud Flows, which is a pretty like minimalist.
Yeah, it's not got a lot of stack to it.
No, it's and that took a bit of convince. Like, I will be honest, I got a recommendation.
Cushion boy.
Yeah, usually. So
Push boy.
yeah. One of the other pros encouraged me to try them out, and I really like them. So there's so many shoes with so much cushion, the plates that I think it's nice to.
Some days you just need a shoe where
get out of it.
where you're not so disconnected from the ground. I found that the Cloud Flow is interesting because it kind of pushes you up on your toes in a way.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice as much because I'm someone who runs on my toes, and my friends make fun of me too.
Oh, really?
So you run on the eye. It's fun, especially funny when it's snowing. You can very easily pick out my foot.
Yeah, it's just half a print.
Yep, it's half print, like all the way down. I'm like,
that's funny. So, and that's shorter runs, so low risk for the lighter material.
Yeah.
Workouts, I'll either wear the Cloud Boom Strike, which is one of their super shoes, Cloud Boom Echo 4, which is another one of their super shoes, or the Cloud Strike LS, which is the light spray.
Oh yeah, the one that has
shoes,
the
super fancy ones.
Yeah.
No laces.
I haven't gotten to see those in person yet.
I'll bring them next time.
Yeah, I'd love to just see what this looks like in person because again, I'm very into following running shoes. I think I have a 20 shoe rotation going right now.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot.
I wear a lot of shoes, which has only gotten worse with me trail running recently. I'm like, now I have trail shoes too.
Yeah, and then long runs are the Cloud Monster Hyper.
Okay.
And then the daily walking shoes, I love the Rogers.
Yeah, the Rogers is great.
Yeah, they're very classic all white shoe, and they're really comfy. For I like stylish shoes, but a lot of times they're not comfortable enough.
Yeah.
So I actually find that the latest Rogers are a lot more comfortable than the first iterations of them. So they've seemed to have beefed them up a little bit as well.
Nice. Yeah, I've only worn the first iteration of the Roger.
I'm tempted to walk around the Monsters because they boost me up another 2 inches. I might be 5'8" instead of 5'6".
Oh, okay.
They just don't quite have the same look as the Rogers do.
I mean, people wear the Monster around all the time.
They actually do.
Fashion shoe.
Yeah.
I'd say most commonly, I would say the Cloud, the Cloud 5, or the Cloud 6 or whichever one they're on now.
Yeah.
I think it's still the 5. And then the Monster, and then I would say the Roger out of on shoes that I see people casually walking around in.
Well, a sneaky one in there too is the Cloud Nova. People like a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of got a different look to it, but
is that the one that has it kind of slots out from the inside, the way that the pods are?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit more of a stylish shoe.
Yeah, I think that's the one Zendaya was wearing in their campaign that they did.
Yeah, probably.
Remembering correctly.
Yeah, colleague. We talk all the time, me and her. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you do? Okay,
No,
right, cool.
I've never been in contact with Zendaya, but that was a pretty big pickup for the brand.
I was because usually I feel most running shoe brands don't pull in actual celebrities. They'll pull in outside the running industry.
Right.
They'll pull in running specific celebrities. On might pull you. I would count you in this. That they might pull in you. For a Falmouth for a race campaign that they're doing or something like that, but they won't usually pull in a Zendaya or a Taylor Swift or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty crazy.
Which I'm still very surprised that New Balance never pulled Taylor Swift in for those shoes she was wearing because that was huge whole month-long shenanigans. So I was as someone who has 2 sisters who are very involved with Taylor Swift, I'm I don't have anything against her. I'm just I'm not going to pay $500 for a ticket. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. My wife is a big Swiftie, so she went to the concert in Toronto.
Oh, that's fun.
So yeah, it was that whole getting tickets was a pretty wild experience. It's it's a 10-step process. So
yeah, that was part of what deterred me too. Because one of my friends was yeah, we're gonna do this, and I'm she told me what I had to do, and I was no. Absolutely.
I got like strict instructions because I got my run in, and this was when Hannah was working remotely like full time. So she's like, I can't do this. Here's like, and I got like
a Google Doc. Of
yeah,
like,
exactly,
so you
step by step. So the craziest thing is by total chance we are able to actually lock down first like front row tickets.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which was nuts. So
that's bananas.
Yeah, it was crazy because it's like at the end of it you hop in a queue and it tells you like what number you are.
Yeah.
I was like 105, and I was like, that seems pretty low.
Yeah.
And then when you get launched in, it's like, I thought the Olympics were stressful. This is like
peak
beyond,
stress right here.
because it's like you're just scrambling. You click seats. By the time you check out, they're gone.
I don't want my wife to hate me. I want to get good tickets.
Yeah, exactly. So they got front row, and they had an amazing experience. But the funniest thing is like our whole network around when they were seeing like the amount tickets were selling for.
Yeah.
A lot of encouragement of like,
sell the ticket.
Sell those. But my wife, her best friends, they had an amazing time, so they wouldn't have traded them for the world. Yeah, it was great. So
that's a lot of fun.
I was on dog duty, so I did my task, and then I watched the dogs and had a great night as well. But a lifetime experience for them.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Well, I think we're kind of coming around to the end then.
Okay.
Unless there's something else you want to talk about, I'm open to that.
No, I'm easy. I feel like we covered a lot. So
yeah, I feel like that was a good conversation, a little bit unconventional, which I'm here for.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And after the marathon, we can come back, we can run it back and do it all again.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what your experience is as someone who's running as an elite. Because this podcast largely is like everyday runners, people like myself who we go into the Gen Pop. We get on the bus for New York City. We wait in the line for Chicago. We're not at the front of the line anywhere. We're just kind of going through the experience, which is great and fun. But we're not being treated to the VIP experience, which will be interesting to hear from someone who gets to do that and is obviously in town and local and stuff too.
I appreciate that. So, yeah, and that's the last thing. If you see me on, if anyone, I've seen you many times now.
Yeah.
Probably 3 or 4 times. So.
Yeah, I know, because I do social media management as my full-time job.
Oh, nice.
So I work from home, so I have the luxury to go out and pick a day to do my long run. Yeah. Where it's nicer out, which I'm sure you also mostly get to do. I would imagine.
Oh yeah, weather app is like my one activity.
It's after many years of getting up super early in the cold to go run in the dark. It's so nice.
Yeah, for sure. But if any listeners ever see me or you, I'm sure too, say hi on the Shining Sea or the canal or
wherever it is.
That's where I spend a lot of my time, or on the road race course. I like running on Surf Drive quite a bit.
We'll have to get you on some of the other more niche sections.
Yeah, I'm always open to if anyone. Yeah, I'm on Instagram too. Strava, so if anyone has any recommendations for running spots.
You're going to have to go run the Long Juliana, which is part of the old Cape Cod Marathon course, which is...
Is that named after you?
I call it that. I call it the Long Juliana because there's the short Juliana, there's the Long Juliana, but the Long Juliana goes all the way up to Tom Landers, and then you take all the hills through Sippawisset, and then you go up by the golf course, and then you take the first 3 miles of the Falmouth Road Race.
Oh, nice.
It's about 10 to 15 miles of hills approximately.
Wow, yeah. That's gnarly.
Have you run the Sippawisset Hills before?
Only once. Just on an easy day.
Yeah, I would keep it for an easy day if I were you. Yeah. The problem with them is you think they're done and then you're like, oh wait, no, that wasn't this was not the part where the hills end.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit.
That's pretty. Yeah, I spent. We've been staying with Scott and Wendy, my in-laws, while our kitchen was being renovated, and I've been doing a lot of runs from Ballymead and going through Hatchville. Okay. I've got a couple hills through there, but it's not crazy. But yeah, it's you can find some sneaky spots. Honestly, Ballymead is very hilly.
Yeah.
Which is great because if you're going around New York or Boston, it's you better not shy away from the hills.
Yeah, no, and people underestimate it. It was funny, people come down here all the time. They're like, yeah, the Cape is so flat. I'm like, yeah, if you just run along the beach.
Yeah.
You go anywhere else, there are hills.
Yeah, for sure.
You can find them. Do some sprint repeats up that hill that goes up to the church. Do the first mile of the Falmouth Road Race backwards.
Oh,
a ton of times.
That's a good one.
You should come run the Seagull 6. You could blast the doors off some people
and
have a nice time. It's in a couple months.
Okay.
It starts and ends in Woods Hole. It's wildly hilly for such a short race.
Oh, okay.
It's a good, like, and usually the Gardner kids usually come out and win it.
Okay.
So you could give them a nice, like, little kick in the
Go
ass.
toe to toe with those guys.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I think this is a good, I always call it the most competitive small local race around.
Yeah.
Because people are training for Boston.
Yeah.
They show up ready to rip it.
That's awesome.
Like, I've never seen a more competitive, like, small local race in my life.
6 miles?
A little under.
All right, as long as it's not March 22nd,
I don't think so.
that's baby day.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So-
we can't have you be busy that day.
Or a few days later, I might be a little sleep deprived. But if it's around there, it could be a good prep for the New York Half if it's before that. But
Yeah, I'll send you the link to it later.
please.
So I think that would be fun and a good way to get locally involved with some of the races here, which you've already started doing because you announced Falmouth in the fall, which was awesome.
Yes, yeah.
Was
And
that
do you see me as I was Santa at the?
the jingle jog?
Sorry if that was a secret, but at the Jingle Jog, I was Santa. So yeah, any chance I can get involved.
That's awesome.
And that's one of the things I love about being here.
Yeah.
It's I'm always love to. So I mean, the racing schedule is always gets a little bit more iffy because
Yeah.
I'm trying to like target something, but I mean something that's 6 miles, that's like pretty manageable distance.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, who's not like an Olympic athlete, like you can go in tempo around that bad boy.
For sure, yeah.
Like it's interesting too because the other thing that usually happens on that day of that race is we all make a bet of how shitty the weather's going to be. Because so it's a loop that goes around Woods Hole.
Yeah.
And many years I've run it where you start and it's sunny and then it hails on you and then it rains and then it hails on you again and then it rains and then the sun comes back out.
Oh my god.
And you're only out there for like max 45 minutes running.
Yeah.
And it's a circle. And you're like, how did that even, where's the math?
That's crazy.
Where's the math coming
Must be
here?
March, maybe April. That's crazy.
Yeah, right on the ocean where you're getting raw weather fronts.
Yeah.
Just constantly rolling through. And you're like, okay, I thought this was like, the radius of this was about 3 miles, but hey, whatever.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's bananas, but we'll get you, at some point you can run it. If not this year, maybe next year. It's not a big deal.
Sounds great.
It's not going anywhere. So, okay. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Ben.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and
Yeah.
for all the listeners, appreciate you.
Yeah. Do you have anywhere that people can find you? Maybe drop your Instagram handle.
Yeah, easy. I keep it easy. Ben_Flanagan. Instagram's mostly where I'm active.
Yeah.
I mostly just share upcoming races and results. And
then what's your next race that's planned do you have any planned on the calendar races right now?
yeah, so the big one is New York City Half, which is March 16th.
Okay.
The elite athlete coordinator is very well aware that baby might be, if the baby's early, then I'm not going to be running.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I tried to plan a race because I'm going to take time off for when the baby's born.
I would imagine.
Yeah, so I tried to find a very close, high, quality race, and it might be too close, but we'll see. Other than that, in February 14th, I'm going to be pacing a couple races at the New Balance track in Boston.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to do a 3K, 5K, pace some college guys to some times.
Oh.
I know the coaching staff over
That'd
at
be
Boston
fun.
College and gotten access to some resources recently, and just want to help some guys run fast is the goal. So
Yeah, why not? I'm down for it.
yeah, so
I love pacing people. I think it's really fun.
I know it can be kind of nerve-wracking though. It's it gets me kind of stressed out, but it's good practice running from the front, trying to stay calm, and hopefully some kids can run fast is the goal.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. I mean, luckily for me, when I pace people, it's usually a one-on-one pacing, and it's very general time goal. They're like, I would like to finish, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah, there you go.
We're not hitting we're not hitting any specific splits, so you have fun with that.
I know it's you want to. So it should be good. I feel like I'm in pretty good form right now.
Yeah.
But just building towards New York City. So hopefully that's the race where it's I can be super competitive in.
Yeah.
Things are kind of getting better every week. Routine is getting a lot more stable.
in.
Yeah, since moving here, just getting access to everything and learning about the area. But hopefully that'll be a big one.
Yeah, I think that'll be great, and you'll be doing the Falmouth Road race, I assume, potentially.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I can't usually the only reason I don't do it is if it conflicts with the World Championship or Olympics on the track, since that's no longer an issue.
Yeah.
It's going to be a race that I highly prioritize. I want to win again.
I think you can do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
So,
you have the home field advantage, if anything.
I know, totally. So the most anyone's won is 4, and I'm at 3 right now. So
yeah.
I ideally would like 2 more, but I want to at least tie for before with Steven Sambu. So
we'll put it out into the universe. I'll
That's
put
the
that
goal.
good juju out there, and we'll
Please.
say, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of, like, if you have a goal, at least tell yourself you can do it.
totally.
And I think you can do it, Ben. I think you got it, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, we believe in you.
Thank you.
That's all you got. But, okay.
Love it.
Well, thank you for coming on today. And thank you guys all for listening and watching, however you are consuming this piece of media. If you'd like to find us over here, which is me, I say us like there's actually anyone else behind this. It's just me doing editing and everything. But you can find us at RunnahPod on Instagram and TikTok, and then runnahpod@gmail.com if you have any questions, concerns, queries, anything you'd like to say. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of Runnah. Goodbye. Bye. And that's it, Ben. Woohoo! We did it.
Nice.
Nice job.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Runnah. This podcast is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Juliana Coughlin. Brought to you in part by the Falmouth Running Club and the Falmouth Community TV station. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at RunnahPod, and you can send us an email at runnahpod@gmail.com. And our original theme music was brought to you by the one and the only wonderful Jeffrey Hutton. And keep up the great work. I'm proud of you.